Pretty much all of the parishes in the Rapides Foundation service area are designated as primary care health professional shortage areas. And this is a federal designation that is done nationwide at a parish level. And it helps us to understand, do we have enough primary care providers for the number of or the size of the population that we have. We also have a mental health professional shortage in all of our 9 parishes as well. The workforce analysis estimated that about 10%, we will see a 10% increase in almost 1,000 annual openings across all healthcare occupations in the next few years, and that this growth combined with existing shortages, high turnover nature of healthcare fields, and the retirement of baby boomers, there's a need to address current and future gaps in the healthcare workforce. Also, if you just turn on the TV and or listen to any kind of news, you will hear that there's always some kind of report about the shortages of nurses and the struggle that hospitals and other healthcare providers are seeing on a daily basis to provide the services that they need. So in the past, we had a nursing capitation grant. This was from 2010 to 2016. This provided some funding for mainly faculty in the post-secondary organizations that were working in nursing. In 2016 to the present period, we also have our healthcare occupations grant. From the 2016 round and then the current round in 2021, we have awarded over $5.5 million to local post-secondary institutions. And the goal of that funding was to increase graduates in healthcare fields. And we currently have that funding opportunity is open right now, and you can find out information on it on our website. For the healthcare occupations grants, some of the projects focused on strengthening student retention, increasing clinical faculty, creating new program offerings, and expanding current offerings. And it added resources for students studying for licensure exams. And for the healthcare occupations grant, it focuses on nursing, allied health, and behavioral health occupations. And then finally, we had our workforce opportunity grants, was a one-year grant that supports industry and post-secondary institutions to address in-demand, high-wage occupations by offering short-term training programs. And so, that's what we've done in the past, and that's what we're doing currently. And we've learned a couple of things from those experiences. And so when we were putting together the healthcare occupation programs and talking to our partners, one thing that we kept hearing is that it's great to get additional graduates, but that there was often and sometimes seats available, and that they were not having the interest in the health programs that they had the capacity to handle. And so based on that conversation and that information, and also just looking at some data historically at the enrollments of different health programs, we came up with the Future of HealthC.A.R.E program. It builds on our past efforts. It uses the grow your own model. So there's a lot of evidence that shows that health professionals practice in the area where they were raised and in the communities that they were raised in. And so this model really works on growing our own and working with our current K through 12 students, hoping to make them aware of the healthcare careers that are available here locally, and then provide them with access to opportunities, education, and experiences needed to prepare them for the healthcare career pathways. A lot of times you have to start so early in order to be prepared to go into these healthcare training programs. You have to make sure your high school schedule and get you those upper level classes, or that you're in the technical programs that you need to expose you and get you some industry-based credentials. And then that a lot of times the more exposure they have to the different types of careers in healthcare, the more they have an opportunity to make sure that their selections and academic programs align to that. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kedra to tell you about the actual parameters of the funding opportunity and about the details for it. But before that, I did want to stop and say, was there any questions of kind of about the background or how we got here? All right, Kedra, it's all yours.
Thank you, Ashley. And I'll just ask Ashley or Matt if you could watch the chat or like the login for those that are coming in. Thank you so much. So we're super excited to talk to you guys about this funding opportunity, the Future of HealthCare program, with an emphasis on that care and the healthcare term being an acronym for Career, Academic Readiness, and Exploration for Students. So the purpose of our request for proposal really is to increase the number of qualified students from the Foundation's 9 parish service area that will be enrolling in healthcare training programs or entering into the healthcare workforce. So a key component of applying to this grant is that we want to ensure that any programming that is requested is offered in our service area. And I would just encourage you guys to refer back to those 9 parishes that Ashley mentioned earlier in the slide. So the funding opportunity will provide support to develop and implement K-12 strategies to accomplish one or more of the following objectives: increase awareness and exposure to healthcare occupations, prepare students for the academic rigor of healthcare training programs, and increase or build technical skills needed to work in healthcare occupations. So as you develop your projects, we welcome you to utilize an approach that really provides a solution to one of these objectives, or if you're able to incorporate more than one of the objectives, that's welcomed as well. So going a little bit deeper and giving some examples of projects that we have seen utilized as models to support this type of funding request. Here are some examples that you could kind of create your project around. And I'll start with the beginning. So you can create a project to expand access to healthcare career exploration and awareness activities, whether that's through summer programming, mentoring programs, tutoring programs, things of that sort. You can also create projects to academically prepare students for healthcare training programs and admission requirements. As we know, a lot of times it takes an additional level of just getting the students interested, right? But they have to be prepared to be able to enroll in those courses at the post-secondary and certification levels, as well as successfully complete them. So an emphasis on helping them to be academically prepared, whether that's through dual enrollment, advanced placement classes, tutoring, remediation, study skills, experiential learning that will provide them with that hands-on experience early so they can kind of take that, what they're learning in the classroom, and put it with what they may potentially see in the field as they're working in that space, as well as STEM opportunities. So again, that goes to your camps that are providing those STEM experiences and those trainings around those science, technology, engineering, and math areas. Projects to create or expand access to jumpstart health science pathways. If you have some school districts that don't already have your health science pathways, this may be an opportunity to improve that gap there. In school or after school or summer programs to address any or all of the objectives. So remember those 3 objectives that we mentioned, whether it be a focus on one or all, you can create programming around that. Or also efforts to ensure teachers and school counselors are aware of requirements for entering healthcare training programs in profession schools. So in order to apply to this opportunity, you do have to meet the eligibility requirements. So the grant organizations must be classified as a Section 501c3 tax-exempt organization or a government entity. You cannot be a private foundation under Section 509A. And if you are a post-secondary institution, you must be accredited by either the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges or the Accrediting Commission of the Council on Occupational Education. We strongly encourage the grantees to partner, whether it be with other nonprofits in the area, school districts, municipalities, or educational institutions. But again, providing that emphasis that all of the funding projects, they must serve students in that K-12 group that are within our 9 parish service area. So as we know, this is a competitive grant opportunity. We do not have any grant award caps as far as how much you can ask for, but we do ask that as you are asking for the projects that it be in an alignment with the amount of students that will be served from the program, and also be aware that the foundation does have the right to provide less funding than what is requested, depending on our pool and what we feel aligns best with the project and the students that are being served. We do require you to utilize evidence-based strategies that have been proven to improve the healthcare workforce shortage through strengthening student exposure and academic rigor and preparedness. And then the programs must target students that are in grades K through 12. And once again, they must target our students in our service area. So that being inclusive of Allen Parish, Avoyelles Parish, Catahoula Parish, Grant Parish, LaSalle Parish, Natchitoches Parish, Rapides Parish, Vernon Parish, and Wynn Parish. So for this funding opportunity, we do not accept proposals to supplant or maintain current program activities. It will be required that the projects and programs be new activities. Grant funding must also align with the project needs and must be used to implement strategies that will lead to one or more of the three objectives that are the focus of this funding opportunity. Funding requests should be appropriate for the number of students impacted. So this goes back to, even though there is not a limitation and cap, the budget should align with the number of students that are being served by the project. Multiple applications per organization will be considered, but they should be differentiated in their focus and scope and potentially the objectives that they are addressing if it's not able to be like one comprehensive application. The grant term will be up to 68 months, and that term will begin November 1st, 2022, and it will end June 30th, 2028. So all funding projects, you do have the potential for a 7-month planning period, and that planning period would allow for you to be able to hire and train current and new staff on the program that is being implemented, but it is not required. As you work through your projects and think through them, we do ask that if you are going to need that 7-month planning period, that you would include it in your full proposal timeline that would be submitted. So for allowable expenditures, the grant funds can be utilized for faculty, staff, or contract employee costs, operating costs directly associated with a new or expanded program, stipends for existing faculty or teachers taking on additional responsibilities. So faculty that might have to may have to get increased workload, so that might cause them to have irregular instruction hours, supplies and materials, fees, registration, tuition, convening and facilitating expenses, training equipment, renovation, construction costs. So something of importance to note here is that for any capital costs, which is inclusive of training equipment and renovation construction costs, they cannot exceed more than 15% of the total request. And that 15% is of your total budget for the project. Non-allowable expenditures is supplanting existing resources, lobbying or political programs or events, biomedical, clinical, or educational research, direct support to individuals or endowments, individuals including patients' assistance funds, social events or fundraising efforts, projects outside of the foundation service area, direct funding for medical or social services already funded through existing third-party reimbursement sources, operating expenses not used for significantly expanding the services of ongoing programs, vans, or other vehicles. And we do also encourage you, as you're thinking through your projects, to really take that RFP that we've created and help it guide you through the process of the creation of your letter of intent. And if you're invited to also submit your proposal to help guide you through that. That really is a true informative tool that includes all the information that you need to know of, like, this should be included in the letter of intent, or this should be included in the proposal, and this is what they are looking for and how you will be evaluated. So the submission process, it is a two-stage submission process, with the first stage being your letter of intent, which is due April 25th, 2022. And then after submission of your letter of intent, we do notify acceptance or either denials of the letter of intent by May 20th, 2022. And depending upon if you're accepted, you would move on and be invited to submit a full proposal on August 8th, 2022. And we would then provide full notification of selected proposals no later than October 3rd, 2022, with a goal of a grant starting date November 1st, 2022. So for all of these submission dates that are listed above, we do require that they be submitted online via our online portal, which we will go through a little shortly. And they have to be submitted no later than 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Only applicants with an accepted letter of intent will be eligible to submit a full proposal, and we notify you of if you are awarded or denied to move forward with that process. And then we do encourage you to schedule a call or meeting with myself or either Ashley to discuss the alignment and feasibility of the project. We suggest you scheduling those calls or meetings at least several weeks before the deadlines, with the first one being April 25th. So that would be within like about the next 2.5 weeks. Please reach out to set up an appointment with us just so we can make sure that you are on the right track as you're thinking through your project. LOI should be limited to 2 to 4 pages, and they will only be accepted via our online portal. So here's just my information. Feel free to reach me via email or via the numbers that are listed. And that is all of the information that we have to present today. Any questions of what's been stated so far?
I did want to stress that this is a competitive opportunity, and we're expecting to receive a variety of applications, and that will probably exceed the amount of money that is set aside for the projects. So we strongly encourage you to partner to make sure that the group of kids that you work with or the community that you work with will have access to the opportunities that this funding supports. So Kedra did say that she would share the names of the organizations with the other participants on the list. If you would like us not to share your information, please let Kedra know. But we strongly encourage you to partner with other organizations so that the funding can reach as many people possible and go as far as possible.
So any questions so far over eligibility requirements? Okay, so while you guys are, I see the wheels are turning, while they're still turning, I'll go ahead and show you what our online portal, as well as key materials and resources, can be found. So my colleague did also drop in the chat box how you can locate the RFP and the grant page on the website. So if you want to notate those web links, may be helpful. And then also, so if you were to go to that first web link that Matt posted in the chat, it would bring you to this page, which is the Future of HealthC.A.R.E program grant page. And it has that key information of, what is our purpose, grant awarding process, eligibility requirements, as well as the key dates to pay attention to. On the right side, you will find the key materials, which is in the red box. And there is a link to the request for proposals that goes through all of this information that we presented earlier in our presentation, as well as the background that Ashley presented as well to help you as you think through your projects. There is also a project budget worksheet, which is required to be submitted with your applications. As well as with the project budget worksheet, we do require you to submit a budget narrative. And that narrative just walks us through what are you asking for in your budget. So literally line by line, if you can provide us those details, it's very helpful. Lastly, we also require a signature page, which should come from your leadership at your organization to let them know, that it just shows to us that they are supporting you in doing this project and that there's buy-in from everyone within the organization. So this is an example of how the request for full proposal looks Once you pull up that document, this is just the first page, but it's about an 8-page document. And just another reminder that this full proposal, once you go towards the end, it'll walk you through that purpose, the eligibility requirements, the key information that should be included in your letter of intent, as well as if you are invited for the full proposal, the key information and data that we are looking for in that proposal as well is also at the end of the request for proposal. This is what the signature page looks like, which you access via that key material link on the web page. And you're able to see who is required to sign it. This is an overview of what the budget template looks like. This is currently shown on the cumulative page, but we do ask that you go and fill in each year for the project, the details. And then submission process. So I'll show you how the online portal looks so you're familiar with it. So if you go back to that grant page via the link that was posted in the chat, then right above the key material section, you have the letter of intent submission. You will do starting your new application when this is your first time going on the website and starting the application for this grant opportunity. And it will take you to this page. So if you have already utilized our portal before and you've had a email and password login, you are able to utilize that same email and password login. If you've forgotten your password, feel free to reset it via the forgot password. If you're new, then you would click that option under the email box right here. If at any time you have any issues setting up your profile, getting your password reset, or getting access in, please don't hesitate to reach out to our program assistant, Ms. Courtney Keys, and her information will be found on that page. So once you log in, it takes you to the eligibility quiz, which just goes through your organizational information to make sure that you're meeting all requirements for being able to receive this funding. You answer those questions and you would submit, and it takes you to the grant overview page that walks you through, again, the introduction, background, and the purpose. And then you start the submission. So including who will be your grant contact, as well as your organizational information. You input it. You are able to save those details and come back to your application as needed. And then as you continue to save them, working through it, you include your project information. So your title, the start date, the description, as well as all required information. Something to think about as you're creating your project titles, it is a title that will stick with you. So think of it as something that you would want to be seen in your press releases and on your official documents. So you can be as creative and direct as you would like, but just keep that in mind. So this is what the portal looks like for you to upload your information. Your letter of intent, your project budget worksheet and narrative, your 990, your application signature page, and then your 501c3 IRS determination letter. Once you've uploaded all of those documents, save and finish later if you have to come back to it and you don't have time. But if not, you're able to review your application and submit it. At any time, maybe you were just starting your application and in the earlier pieces, you are able to come back to your application. But when you do that, make sure you come back to the return to my application. You choose from there instead of starting a new application. If you choose start a new application, it may create a whole new kind of like viewing page on your side, and you'll be like, where did all of my stuff go? So just make sure to select the return to my application. We do suggest that you start uploading your application and materials within at least 3 hours before the due date. I would actually suggest 24 hours, maybe a couple of days in case there's any technology issues or something of the sort, so we're able to support you and help you through that. So that is what the online portal looks like, as well as how you can access the key materials and resources. Anything to add, Ashley? Or you just,
Yeah, we had a couple of questions in the chat. One of them asked if there was any in-kind or match that was required, and no, it is not. We'll say that, you know, of course, that always does make your application more competitive if you are able to show a match or some kind of in-kind support. We also had a question about what is actually due on April 25th. And so the LOI, the letter of intent, is what's due on April 25th, and that's just a 2 to 4 page application that really just gives us the big idea of what your strategy is and how you'd like to, like what target population you'd like to reach. There's several questions on that RFP that are specifically for that letter of intent application. And you do not have to provide a detailed budget in that LOI. It's just an overall, this is how much money we would like to ask for, and not a line item budget for the LOI.
and I just pulled back up the slide that had those key dates listed, as it may be helpful as you're jotting down notes and planning.
Well, everybody's kind of thinking about their questions. Can y'all kind of speak to the evidence-based piece of this? Are y'all looking for just supporting evidence, or are y'all wanting them to try to replicate models, or either or? Kind of what does that look like?
So we always would like there to be the models and the strategies that you're working on to be evidence-based or based on promising practices to get to those objectives that we're trying to reach, which is to increase awareness of and exposure to healthcare careers and to better prepare them academically. And long-term, what we're looking at is we really want to have a pool of students when they graduate from high school who are interested in healthcare careers and will be quality students and academically prepared to go into those healthcare training programs.
We had a question of, do we need to hire an external evaluator?
No. You will see in the questions for the LOI, definitely for the full proposal, if you're invited for a full proposal, that we ask how you plan to monitor the program to monitor the success of it and to evaluate if the program is successful. But the foundation does hire third-party evaluators that we pay for ourselves to evaluate portfolios of our grant programs. And we do ask that you allow them access to any of your documents and information and interviews with you if that time comes.
Any other questions? Okay, so I think that is our full presentation, and I'm going to share my information as well. And then I'm also going to drop Ashley's email in the chat. So as you guys, if you have any questions, as you reach out to set up those pre-consultation meetings before submitting your LOIs, please don't hesitate to reach out at any time, as we're here to support you throughout your application process.
Yeah, thank y'all so much.
Have a great afternoon, everyone.